Hello everybody and welcome back to the Fortress of Solitude. Today we're going to be checking out Action Comics issue 1076 by Mark Waid, Mariko Tamaki, Clayton Henry, Michael Shelfair, Megan Hetrick, Matt Herms, and Marissa Louise. Phantoms continues this week as Clark, Jor-El, and Zor-El try and figure out how to fix the solar bracelets and get them charged. Clark soon finds out that the earthquakes and aftershocks of Krypton ripping itself apart are happening more frequently now. We get even more interesting insights into the L's here as Clark also slips up and reveals to Zor and even Kara how the planet will blow up. However, he quickly has to cover himself as his arm begins to fade from existence, since if he was to reveal what happens to his family and to the planet, the timeline would be forever changed and he might not actually exist anymore. And I like how quick it is as well. It's not something that just slowly happens. Like the minute he just says a couple of words that the L's just kind of take out of context and like, what does that mean? His arm starts to fade like almost immediately, and I quite like that because sometimes in time travel stuff, that sort of stuff happens really slowly. Like they'll make one little mistake and like it'll take a minute for it to like actually start cascading, but I like that there's like an instantaneous nature to it here. It's very scary, it's very terrifying. You just fade out of existence at any time. Clark knows that he can't just let something so unfair happen to the billions of people of Krypton and asks Zor about the planet's core and how they could work together to fix it, but surprisingly, Zor becomes angered as he doesn't believe his brother's lies. Instead, he would rather put faith in his own skills as a geologist, and he's seen that the planet has nothing to fear. This sets off a small chain reaction which causes Zor to kick Clark, Jor, and Lara out of his home, hinting that he doesn't want to even see them ever again. Again, Waid is playing with some new interesting dynamics with the L's here that we never really get much of, let alone Clark gets to see. Now, Jor and Zor have had their blows in the past, and Clark getting a front row seat to it is really quite cool, and you can kind of see that through line there that would have led to Zor potentially becoming a cyborg Superman, which he does in the future. You know, you can see that villainous turn take here where he wants revenge. I also really like that Clark doesn't really know what to do because, you know, he's got preconceived notions of like how his family were and, you know, how they acted, like from all the stuff that he's seen in the fortress of them from his crystals and various recording. So this is like new territory for him, and if he says the wrong thing, you know, he might fade from existence, but also he's very confused as to like why this sort of stuff is happening because this isn't how he knows it to happen. So I like that there's kind of like a futility there where he can't really do much but just like watch it play out. While Superman deals with family troubles, Superboy and Superman meanwhile continue to deal with the Khund as Superboy prepares to battle the Admiral for rule of the Khund fleet. Keenan is separated from Connor and is left at the mercy of the entire ship, whose job it is to keep him busy while Connor fights their leader, to ensure that Keenan does not cheat and help his friend. Keenan getting a moment in the story to himself to dole out some pain to the Khund is lots of fun, and it's cool that he isn't too good at fighting, especially someone like the Khund who are a bit tougher than the villains he's usually used to fighting. So he takes a few hits and even has his face covered in this weird plasma goo that disorientates him for a moment, yet he's still able to like barrel his way through this ship. Keenan eventually fights his way back to Connor, only to find that the battle has been won and now Connor controls the Khund fleet. Connor is quick to reveal, however, he didn't actually kill the Admiral. He used his tactile telekinesis to pull the murder pit down on the Khund, trapping him and causing him to tap out. Despite Connor derailing their plan though, Keenan believes he can still go ahead with his idea, and the heroes leave to set it up as back on Krypton, Clark infiltrates the hall of the Science Council, disguising himself as a guard so he can get into the archives. And I really like how they make it seem that Clark is very desperate now. Like this isn't something he wanted to do, and this is something he doesn't usually do, but he has to do this in order to try and get back home. Inside he finds hordes of inventions that Roseanne and the Science Council have taken, inventions that he knows could be used to help save Krypton, or at least, you know, alleviate a lot of the planet's problems. Clark comes across Zor-El's photonic converter, which earlier Zor told him could amplify the sun's rays enough for the batteries to charge, and it's what put him on the trail of this device, since the device had been taken by Roseanne ages ago. It does get kind of glossed over, but I really like that Wade does shine a brief light on Clark's intelligence. He knows how to make tech and how to design it and invent it and how to get it to work, and I think it's something that a lot of people don't really either realize about Superman or don't really just know about, which is that he is more than just punching and superpowers. He's very smart. He's the son of Jor-El, an inventor, a brilliant Kryptonian inventor, and I like that this story has kind of shined a light on that, where he, invents these bracelets with the help of some friends. He knows all about like the technology behind it and how to get it to work and everything. So he's very competent on his own. He's not just relying on superpowers that he doesn't have at the moment. Soon, Zor-El and the guards find Clark, revealing to the hero that his own uncle has turned him in. The solar bracelets luckily have a little bit of juice left in them, and Clark uses it to take on the guards. I like how he's using very weak versions of the powers we know, like he can just kind of use freeze breath, he kind of has super strength, all of this sort of stuff, and the guards don't really know what to do with him because there's stuff they haven't really come across before. This allows Clark to escape, but he's confronted by Roseanne outside, so he decides to play his final card, and he just comes clean with the man, revealing to him that he's a time traveler and he's there to help save Krypton, and he needs to get home. The plan does seem to be working as Roseanne puts his gun down, but a guard catches up, blasting Superman in the back and destroying the converter he had strapped to his back. Luckily though, the bracelets are charged just enough and he's able to fly away, ready to go home. But before Clark does, he goes to see his family, wishing that he could tell them what he knows is coming for them, but knowing that that would also change the future, so he just tearfully leaves, donning his costume as his powers regain fully, and he flies back through the crack that he came through, only to find the Phantom Zone is breaking apart and dying off thanks to Ether's mission to reform the zone into something else. Now, Superman's adventure to Krypton and the Phantom Zone isn't the only story, as the Supergirl backup continues this week as well, and again, it's a bit more of the same as we've been getting, and I'm probably starting to sound a bit like a broken record about it, and I really hate that I have to really be quite hard on this story, because there's something there, but it's just been cut down way too much, and all these parts between the beginning and end, whenever that will be, are just nothing. It's just a big nothing story. Supergirl tries to find out who this prisoner is and why she was sent to take them, but every time it looks like we're about to get some sort of answer to their identity, the story just decides not to do it, and again just relies on information that we already have, and then just building on things like, oh, it's a very dangerous prisoner and they're the destroyer of worlds, and we do learn that they've destroyed 157 worlds, but we're not exactly sure how, and Kara doesn't really know what to make of that because the prisoner isn't attacking her. So it's just stuff we've been getting for the last 4 or 5 parts. It's nothing. And then the story ends with Kara telepathically connecting with the villain, and the villain telling Kara to kill her. So again, it leaves Kara in a position we've seen her in before, so it's nothing really that new. As I've said in the past though, the only consistently good thing about this story is the art, and Megan Hetrick picks up Skylar Partridge's work for this issue and keeps it all really consistent. It all looks very nice. There's some really great paneling again in this issue. It's very bright colors thanks to Marissa Louise, so it looks nice to look at. It's just a shame that there's no substance beyond how it looks. Action Comics continues its very fun weekly adventures as Superman itches closer to confronting Ether and his plans for the Phantom Zone. I've loved all of the stuff Wade is doing with the L's and how it's challenging Clark's preconceived ideas on who and what his family is. I like how it also focused on Clark's intelligence and how he is a smart guy, and how he can sort through problems that don't require him to use his superpowers. He can use critical thinking as his superpower, more or less, which is always really fun when writers challenge themselves to write a Superman story where he doesn't just end up punching something. It is a shame though about the Supergirl story, because that really kind of deflates a lot of the book, especially because it's like the last thing you read of the issue and it's just a big nothing story, and it's a real shame. I'm going to give this issue an 8 out of 10.